Hello, and welcome to another segment of the Coatesville Area Public Library's Oral History Project. I'm your host, Kirk Witmer, and with me today is a gentleman who has been an integral part of the Coatesville community for about a half a century now. Please welcome Ted Skiadas. Ted, it's nice to have you with us today.
Nice being here. Thank you.
I'm glad that you could be a part of our project.
Indeed, my pleasure.
Ted, you were born in Greece and came to Coatesville at a young age. You were how old when you arrived?
I was 14 years old, and I arrived in the United States in 1951.
And wound up in Coatesville. Why Coatesville in particular? What brought you here to our town?
My uncle, the late Constantine Patoukas, who had a restaurant in town, the famous restaurant, brought us over with my father. And soon thereafter, we brought my brother, and in 1957, the remaining of the family. So we came over in shifts.
Mm-hmm. And you came over at 14, and of course you went into Coatesville schools, I assume?
That is correct. I started in Old Benner at the 6th grade, and it was this time of the year.
And what was it like being the new kid on the block?
Well, everybody was paying a lot of attention to me, to be honest with you, including the teachers, and I made a lot of friends, and it was a great experience coming to this country, and particularly to the city of Coatesville.
Mm-hmm. What are your memories of the city itself and activities for teens at that time?
Well, when I arrived, and of course the city of Coatesville was a booming city, obviously. Not only from the industrial point of view, but also from the commercial, you know, the shops in town, the stores, the cultural events that were occurring. And of course, there were a lot of churches, religious events. Personally, I immediately started to work at that young age. I got a job. I had to support myself and maybe send some money back to the old country. Mm-hmm. I got a job at the old Auditorium Theater, which was located in the old YMCA, where now is the Senior Citizen Center.
Coatesville Towers.
Coatesville Towers, between 3rd and 4th. I started as an usher, by the way, 25 cents an hour. That was quite a bit of money at that time. But I did enjoy it a lot. It was a new experience. I was learning the language. And the Y at that time, Kurt, was the hub of all activities, in the cultural activities and fun activities. I remember where the theater, the beautiful theater, over 1,000 seats with the velvet walls and curtains and the beautiful organ. You know, it was a masterpiece of a theater. Too bad it's not around today. And then we'll be in operation for 7 days, Monday through Saturday, matinees, evening, big lines all the way down to 4th Avenue and many times up to Chestnut Street. Admission starting with about 15 cents, I remember it, for children. So it was a lot of fun. I was very active, and we had a lot of good times there. And of course, we can't forget the Sunday meetings, which were well known not only in the Coatesville area, but throughout the state. They would bring in programs and travelogues and speakers and entertainers from throughout the world. The old J.I. Hoffman, who was obviously the director for 50 years, whom I admire very much, was instrumental of seeing that kind of culture continued and supported in the city of Coatesville. And besides that, of course, there was a lot of activity with the cafeteria before and after all these events. A lot of the social and professional organizations used to meet at the YMCA cafeteria. Not to speak of the bowling alleys, the swimming pools, the events that we had in the youth lounges. I mean, it was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. I'd like to back up for just a moment, Ted, to the lecture series, the travelogues, and the other programs that were held. Can you give us a reminiscence of what types of programs were available then?
A lot of the programs, because of not the TV not being
as popular
as it was
available
in the 60s or
yes.
thereafter, were a lot of travelogues. very educational from famous speakers. Maybe there'll be Alaska program. And of course, J.I. Hoffman, he had a lot of fox hunting programs also. That was his personal
He was a big fox hunter.
Oh, yes, he enjoyed that. And of course, he's well remembered, obviously, for all his efforts to send fruit cakes to the veterans or to the, the service people around Christmas. Everybody used to help with that project. Mm-hmm. So and the meetings would start playing the organ, and a lot of people still remember those melodies.
Ted, you've mentioned the organ twice. I understand it was really a sizable organ.
Yes, it was, and it was a very complicated, and it was very expensive to maintain it if there were any breakdowns or something to that effect. But it was a pleasant feeling and an atmosphere to experience in a nice theater.
That it was a magnificent instrument to
hear.
Yes,
it did. Mm-hmm. Yes, it did.
Ted, obviously you didn't stay an usher at 25 cents an hour forever. Tell us about some of your other endeavors.
Well, obviously I did finish at Scott High School, and then I did work at the main office at the Look and Still Company in the accounting department. And I moved on, and I got my degree from Penn State University in accounting. Went on to practice accounting, become a certified public accountant, had my own firm with Mr. Boyd, and then I got involved in the restaurant business, as luck will have it. My father, who was a cook at the famous, never wanted us to become restaurateurs. He wanted us to go to school and get our degrees.
And learn a real trade.
Yes. So after a number of years in accounting, we decided with my family to start a number of restaurants throughout Chester County and Lancaster County. And of course, after 25 to 30 years involved in the restaurant business, we decided to start pulling back a little bit. But we had some wonderful memories even in that field. We did some beautiful projects, community projects that are noteworthy, and it makes us feel proud of being members of the Coatesville area, where my main office was always in Coatesville, and it still is. Mm-hmm. And being immigrants, we're trying to give back to the American community and to this specific community. Point in question was a quilt that we designed for when they did the restoration of the Statue of Liberty, and that was a magnificent project. We brought the finished quilt in the Coatesville Library, and a lot of people saw it and participated, and as a result of it, a lot of other fundraising projects started throughout the United States. We raised about $60,000, by the way.
And this was in what year?
That was back in that would have been about 87, mm-hmm. Yeah. And then, of course, we donated. We got the quilt, and it donated back to the museum. It's there now at the museum in the Statue of Liberty. Mm-hmm. So that was fun.
Yeah, I'm sure. Ted, the restaurant business in Coatesville, it's not all that big of a community. It must have been very competitive. How many different restaurants?
Oh, boy, that's a good question. And as a matter of fact, I was thinking about that before you even called me to participate in this wonderful project. And I did a sort of a count that I was able to count over 35 eating places in Coatesville back in the 1950s. And you said it was competitive, and it was, but I can truly say that everybody was making a good living at that time. Of course, we had a lot more people, and we didn't have the big competition that we have in today's restaurant market. But there were some outstanding eating places in Coatesville. Aside from the regular restaurants, we had the ice cream parlors, where they would serve you the milkshakes and the sundaes, starting from the old Laggy's place, which, by the way, used to be right next to the Palace Theater. They used to make ice cream and candy, a very popular place, to the number of other facilities, that pharmacies that they had their own ice cream products, and the youth would gather, particularly over the weekends.
At the soda fountains.
At the soda fountains, have a great time. Mm-hmm. And some of them, continue. Of course, some of them disappeared, like There used to be a Troutman's restaurant on 3rd and Lincoln Highway at the corner. The St. Regis restaurant on 2nd and East Lincoln Highway in the corner. A beautiful place, it's not there. The Veterans Diner on 1st Avenue in Lincoln Highway. The Speakman House right across. Those places are not around. Quite a few are not around. Probably the only place that is still, or not the only, there may be a couple other places. The famous restaurant, which is located between 3rd and 4th, is still there.
I remember the Gizmo on
The
3rd
Gizmo
Avenue.
is not there, you know, obviously. But the hot dog tradition is still being maintained. You know, remember we used to buy them from Mr. Lalagos for about 10 cents, and of course there's still the Midway and Harry's hot dogs in the area. It still attracts some of the young people.
Ted, what would you think is the contributing factor to the demise of these restaurants and small pharmacies with their soda fountains? I mean, we still have Bob Hennessy's soda fountain, and you can go in and climb up on a stool and order a milkshake or whatever you want there on the corner of 5th and Main, or 4th and Main.
Yeah.
But so many have come and gone. What would you say is the factor that contributes most to their demise?
I believe, I think it's timing. I think the new shopping centers, the automobile, people are moving out of the town, let's say, and also the competition is the fast food industry. You know, it's a huge industry. The little guy cannot compete with them. They have a lot of money. They're sometimes is stockholder money, so they can create facilities and atmosphere and themes that the little guy can participate or be able to make it anymore. Yeah, there are mom and pops restaurants that are, you know, but they're very demanding. You know, they need a lot of attention. The overhead is extremely high for a small place anymore. Yes, the Hennessy's are still there, you know, which is good to see, and I do patronize them. Their ice cream is still good. But it's timing, I believe, you know, that the big boys and the big money have taken over.
When you think back over the years, what other changes have you noticed in Coatesville besides restaurants? What else did we used to have that's just not there anymore?
Well, obviously the retail sector. You know, I remember when I came and someone took me to J.C. Penney's to get my first clothes. You know, the mezzanine section with a little roller, money boxes going back and forth from the first floor. You know, I was amazed at that. And the basement, and of course, across the street there was the Sears, the Woolworths, there was specialty shops for men and women. Unfortunately, again, the shopping centers have taken all that away from us, which is, it's a regretful issue. But what remains, I think that there are still good people in Coatesville, and you can still walk down the street and be greeted, and to greet the people, that's a good feeling.
What would you think of our future? You've seen where we've come from and where we are now. What do you think is on the horizon for us?
You are speaking with a great optimist, and people are starting to get after me because I'm always have been a great supporter of Coatesville, obviously, and I believe that things will change. Our economy is getting better. I see signs of improvement. I see that there are some people that do care about Coatesville. I believe, without being specific, some of the issues with the water and sewer authority, which could generate a lot of money via interest to the city for their various programs, could be a great advantage to the city of Coatesville. And let's face it, Kirk, we live in a very prosperous area. It is to the benefit of the county and the state to see that Coatesville, is upgraded, via jobs, new offices, or anything that would stimulate the economy. And I think it's going to happen. I'm optimistic.
Well, I've heard recently that Chester County has, at this point in time, the highest per capita income of any county in the state of Pennsylvania. So it would behoove us to safeguard that, I think.
Definitely, and we are blessed to have that, and we're going to see some of that rip-off in the citizens and the residents of Coatesville in the near future.
I hope. Ted, all these years in Coatesville, I'm sure you've done some traveling, but you've stayed in Coatesville. What's the attraction for you here?
I truly like the people in the city of Coatesville and the surrounding area. I have made a lot of friends, and even though I had the opportunity to move my offices, and even though I moved into Collin Township right next to Coatesville was by a coincidence, I consider myself a Coatesvillian. My offices are there. My mother still lives in town. So the greatest feeling is that there are good people that I can walk down the street and say, hi, Ted, or hi, Sam, or hi, Kirk, and that's a good feeling.
And we're glad to have you as part of our community as well, Ted. Ted, I can't thank you enough for being part of our oral history project here. I think you've brought quite a number of insights to us, and I thank you for being a participant.
It was a pleasure participating in this function, this project. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.